angiosperms are important. What are the specific characteristics of the angiosperms? And if at all we are finding the angiosperms, which properties we should search for? And so accordingly, in our earlier discussion, we discussed about the angiosperms as such, with properties, distribution, and distinguishing characters. And later on, we went ahead with next component, and this component was the probable time of the origin. Obviously, when we are supposed to know the time has to be counted in terms of millions of years. And obviously, we have to search the fossil record, which is based on geological time scale. And obviously, we have studied the geological time scale, the distribution of plants in different areas, the records which have been made available in different stratas, and we have seen that in early Cretaceous period, the first fossil evidences of the angiosperms appear, which is about almost 135 million years ago. And after that, obviously, in the late Cretaceous period, which is almost 100 million years ago, we are getting the abundant record of angiosperms. Now, this abundant record of fossils is available in the form of leaf impressions. They are available in the form of stem petrifications, root petrifications, fruit petrifications. So we are getting the records of leaf, stem, root, other plants, even some parts of the fruits and seeds. And in some cases, even we have recorded the flowers. So the appearance of angiosperms was abundant almost 100 million years back, somewhere in the late Cretaceous period. But few records are available at the early Cretaceous period, almost 135 million years ago. But the angiosperm records which were made available, they showed that some of these genera, they belonged to the advanced angiosperms. But obviously, because of that, we have to go ahead and seek the angiosperms much more earlier than Cretaceous period. And because of that, we have discussed that even up to Permian period, which was the last era of Paleozoic period, the people, the taxonomists, they are trying to seek the origin of angiosperms. Today, we are going one step ahead, and today we will begin our discussion of origin of angiosperms. And today, first of all, we will discuss about the probable places or the probable place of origin of angiosperms. So which is the locality, which is the region, which is the area where the angiosperms were first appeared. They came into existence, and from them the angiosperms spread everywhere. Now, during the discussion on the angiosperms, we have seen that angiosperms, they are distributed almost in all 5 continents except the Antarctica. So they are cosmopolitan. The angiosperms are spread almost in all habitats: terrestrial, aquatic, alpine, and many others. The distribution of angiosperms is also equivocal. So they are right from the herbaceous forms to tree forms. And because of that, when we are discussing about the probable place of the angiosperm, so here we are supposed to study the phytogeography of the earth itself. That is, the distribution of angiosperms and its probable ancestry at the given locality, given area. Now, when we are going ahead, the probable place has to be sought either through the fossil evidences. So obviously, if at all we can pinpoint that this is a particular family which belong to the primitive angiosperm, or this is a primitive or most primitive genera, we have to find whether such a type of fossil evidence is available from given locality from the given area. So first of all, we have to depend ourselves on what the fossil record says, which is spread in all over the world. So these records are available in European countries, the records are available in African countries, the records are available in American continent, the records are also available in the New World, that is New Zealand and in Australia. So we have to seek, we have to find that where these records are present and whether these records are giving us some clues. Secondly, we have to seek this probable place through the present day distribution of the angiosperms on the earth. What this distribution is suggesting to us, what this distribution of the angiosperms in temperate zone, subtropical zone, tropical zone, what they are indicating, what they are suggesting, what they are claiming, what this frequency this is giving a clue to us. Then the spread of the angiosperms, how the angiosperms are spread from one locality to another locality. So as far as the spread is concerned, here we are supposed to see the migration of the angiospermic genera, the migration of the angiospermic species from the given area. That is, in other words, we are supposed to discuss, we are supposed to find out the geographical distribution of the family, geographical distribution of the genera, and geographical distribution of the species. You know well that the whole world is divided into two worlds, the old world and new world. Obviously, the Africa and Asia, they are considered as the new old world, whereas the European countries and America, they are considered as a new world. So whether some species are present only in the old world and they are not present in the new world, or whether species are present in the endemic form, in a specific form, in the given locality, or they are showing the cosmopolitan nature, all these distribution and spread diagrams, they are going to give us some clues. And then the diversity pattern of the angiosperms. So when we are talking about the diversity pattern, it means here we have to identify and we have to distribute the angiosperms into different categories. So what is the percent of dicots and what is the percentage of monocots in the given area? That is the first point. Secondly, which are the most advanced families, which are the most primitive families, and what is the ratio of these families? For example, in some areas, the primitive families may be more. In some areas, the advanced families may be more. And so what is the diversity pattern of angiosperms? What is the spread of this pattern? What this pattern or what is the histogram is indicating to us? This pattern has to be studied today again. So this is going to give us a claim. For example, you must be knowing that if at all a bullet is hitting at one locality, the dust which is spreading out of it, it will be distributed in the given area. तुम्हाला माहिती आहे की एका ठिकाणी पाण्यामध्ये जर दगड टाकला किंवा त्या तळ्यामध्ये दगड टाकला तर ते लहरी तयार होतात आणि ज्या ठिकाणी दगड पडला तिथून त्या लहरी अशा लांब लांब पसरत जातात. त्याचप्रमाणे अँजिओस्पर्म देखील एका विशिष्ट भागामध्ये जर असतील आणि तिथून ते पसरत असतील तर ज्या भागामध्ये अँजिओस्पर्म पहिल्यांदा तयार झाले त्या भागामध्ये काही जुन्या स्पीसीज सापडतील आणि इतर ठिकाणी नव्या स्पीसीज सापडतील. Whether they are showing such a type of diversity pattern, that is also the issue of the present day study. Then we have to go ahead and we have to see the abundance of the primitive families. Now, once we know the phylogeny of the angiosperms, once we know the evolutionary format and the pattern of the angiosperms, we do know that which of the families which are showing the most primitive characters together. Because many of the families, they are showing the maximum primitive characters assemblage. And that's why we say that these are the primitive families. Whereas there are several families which are now considered as one of the most advanced families. Or in other words, we can say that these are the most successful families. So what is the spread of these primitive families and what is the spread of the successful families in the given geographical distribution? That is also going to give us the clue whether where we have to seek for this probable place. Obviously, for that purpose, we have to identify the geographical distribution of the family, geographical distribution of the genera, and geographical distribution of the species. From our point of view, the endemic species, that is a species which are restricted in a given area, they are more important than the species which are present all over the world. For example, there are several members from the family Asteraceae, family Rubiaceae, family Poaceae, family Leguminosae, where the members are present all over the world. There are several families are present which are restricted, which are endemic, and they are present in the given locality. Now, apart from this distribution and phytogeography, we have to seek the evidences through the developmental botany, that is what ecological studies. For example, we have to study what is the nature of embryos in all angiosperms, what is the nature of pollen grain and its development in all angiosperms, what is the nature of development of the meristems in all angiosperms. And this particular study, developmental study, is also going to give us so many clues. We have to go ahead and we have to identify the histology of the cells, because several primitive families, they are showing the presence of trichomes, they are showing certain presence of secondary metabolites, they are showing certain histological cell organelles, and so histology is also throwing much more light on the primitiveness or ancestry of the angiosperms. And then we have to identify to which species, to which genera, to which family such a characters are predominating, dominating, then that area, that locality can be identified as a probable place. Similarly, we have to go for the cytology. You know well that during the course of evolution, there is a polyploidy which is taking place. And so when we are going for the polyploidy, when we are seeking cytology, we have to identify whether the species and genera, they are showing the 2n, 3n, 4n, 6n, 8n, and so on and so forth. Obviously, these cytological studies also, they are providing us some clues about the relationship of the genera and species. Obviously, we have to go for the embryology, that is reproductive biology. And this is also going to give us some clue. Also, we have to study the role of phytogeography. Now, what is the phytogeography? Phytogeography is nothing but it is the course of succession. Now, the land is always having its own physical barriers. For example, the land is ended with the mountains, the land is ended with the rivers, the land is ended with the water body, the land is ended with the oceans, the land is ended with the valleys, the land is ended even with the mountains. So these are becoming the physical barriers, and because of the physical barriers, a given area, a given land is having its own environment. So the plants which are present in that given area, they undergo their own evolution. They undergo their own morphological changes. They undergo their own ecological changes, alterations, and modifications. And such a type of study is known as a phytogeography. Now we can study the phytogeography of a given area. We can study the phytogeography of a given political area. For example, we can study the phytogeographical area of India. We can study the phytogeography of Asia. We can study the phytogeographic area of the Euro-Asiatic continent. We can study the phytogeography of American continent, and so on and so forth. So all these, they are again giving us a relationship of how the spread and how the evolution has taken place in the given areas. And then all these studies, they give us a lead, a clue that we are supposed to identify the phylogenetic relationship of the given flora. Whether because the flora is derived, the flora is evolved within the members. It is because of the inbreed. It is because of the back cross. And because of that, if at all we try to trace the ancestry of this, the ancestry has to be searched in the given area, given locality, in the given species, in the given genera and even to given plant form families. And so when we are trying to seek the probable place, then we have to first of all try to identify the fossil records which are available all over the world, and also we have to study the distribution and the spread of the angiosperms from today's relevance. And because of that, let us go ahead. Now, when we are trying to find the probable place, remember, we are now trying to find out the first formed angiosperms. We are trying to search for the earlier angiosperm, the first formed species, and not the present day species. And for that purpose, when we are trying to seek the probable place, we have to correlate this with the probable time also. When we are talking about the probable time, we have seen that angiosperms, they have made their first appearance in the Cretaceous period, somewhere about 135 to 100 million years back. Now, the present day world or the present day geography, was it present as it is in the Cretaceous period? That is, at the end of Mesozoic period, was it everything same? Dear friends, no. The landmass which was present in the Cretaceous period was totally different than the present day landmass. So, this is an image which has been created by the paleontologists. So, this is the image of the landmass which was present at the early Cretaceous period, that is somewhat at the final stage, late stage of the Mesozoic period. So, here you can see that no any 5 continents are seen here. On the contrary, all the land masses, all the 5 continents, they are present almost connected to each other. And this particular land mass, that all the 5 continents, they were born together, they were present together, this was called as a Pangaea. So the Pangaea actually was present much earlier also. That was at the beginning of the Mesozoic period. That is somewhere about 250 million years back. However, that Pangaea landmass broke into pieces, and here now at the early Cretaceous period, you can see the splitting has initiated. Now this splitting has initiated, and you can see the red markings, they are being identified as tectonic plates. Now what are tectonic plates? Tectonic plates are nothing but it's the earth surface which is floating on the magma. So these plates, they are separate from one another, they are moving, and because of the movement, automatically they are getting distributed in the vast canvas of the water body. So obviously this is the image of early Cretaceous period landmass. That was the beginning, that was the end of the Pangaea. Now what happened almost up to 30 million years ago? Now you can see in late Cretaceous period, now this is the image which has been identified almost at 90 million years ago. Now in 90 million years ago, you can see that Antarctica, Australia, Africa, India and South America, they are connected to each other, and all these continents, they are present in the southern hemisphere. Whereas the northern in America, European island and Asia particularly in the Russia and China, these continents, they are again connected to each other and they are present in the northern hemisphere. It means the Pangaea is splitting into horizontal fashion, and half part of it is going towards the north and remaining part is still present in the south pole, south region. So this is the landmark. So if at all we know this particular image, then obviously you can get an idea where we should find the angiosperms. Because if we see the earlier image, and if I say that the angiosperm first records are present in the Portugal area, the first records are present in the Spain area, here you cannot identify the locality of the Spain, because Spain was not there at all. which was given, because you can see the equator and the maximum landmass is present in the southern pole. And today, the Spain, Portugal, and European countries, they are present in the northern pole. So this is the area now you can see that North America, European islands, and Asia, now they are present in the northern island, whereas other areas, they are present in the southern region. But the main thing happened at the late Mesozoic period, that these continents, these plates, they started migrating, they started moving from South Pole to North Pole. So this movement took place, and that's why this movement is known as a Cenozoic period, that is the recent world. And so after 90 million years, what is the land, what is the area today? Now you can see this image. Almost all the land mass, all the 5 continents, now they have migrated towards the North Pole, and in the South Pole, only one continent is present, and that continent is nothing but it is the Antarctica. Now you can see there are certain regions, that is the North America, South America, Africa, and Australia, they are closest to Antarctica. On the contrary, the remaining all 5 continents, that is Australia, Asia, Europe, Africa, and America, all they are present in the northern hemisphere. Now this is the beauty of today's world, that most of the land mass is present in the northern hemisphere and very less landmark is present in the southern hemisphere. And that is a major difference. And because of that, when we are trying to see the probable place of the origin of angiosperms, you have to find out that what is this present day record of the landmass is giving us the clues in the form of either fossil records or distribution of the angiosperms, and how we are going to correlate them with the Cretaceous landmass. And that's the way we are supposed to discuss our future plan of probable place. Now when we go ahead, the several hypotheses have been forwarded. Hypothesis means these were the claims which were made by different scientists. Now let us go in some of the claims. The first claim was made by the Arctic origin of angiosperms. Now Arctic, you know that there are 2 regions, North Pole and South Pole. At South Pole we are having the land mass, and that land mass is known as Antarctica. Whereas we are having the North Pole, where again there is no land, but it is covered with the snow. Initially this was not known, and then it was assumed that Arctic region is also having a land mass, and this was called as the Arctic region, where we are having the North Pole today. Here was the one in 1868, almost 200 years back, and he suggested that the northern polar region is the center of origin of angiosperms. For this purpose, he had 2 claims. Firstly, he said that all the 5 continents, they were present in the northern. Because of that, as this zone was connected to each other, it was very easy for the angiosperms to show the distribution of angiosperms in all 5 continents. Why we are making this statement? Because if you see the maximum landmass or the maximum continents, they are separated from one another by a very large area of water body which is known as the oceans. For example, in between the Africa and South America, the Atlantic Ocean is present. In between the South America and obviously Asian plate, the Pacific Ocean is present. In between the Australia and Asia and Africa, the Indian Ocean is present. Now in between the Africa and Europe, the Mediterranean Ocean is present. In between the North America, Europe and Asia, from the northern polar region, the Arctic region is present. It means that all these 5 continents, they are separated by a very large body of water, and that's why the distribution of angiosperms from one area to other area, it is not possible. It is not feasible. And so, because of that, the here suggested that at the beginning, all these land masses, they were present together. And this land mass, he called this name Holarctica. Whole means together, Arctic region means the region, Holarctic region. So this was strongly supported by the several paleobotanists and phytogeographists like Saporta, Hooker, Asa Gray, Earl of England, all of these were taxonomists, and in 1916, and later on even by the modern phytogeologists like Stewart, Besse, Jess, and Arnold, and many others. Now this particular concept said that the angiosperms originated in the polar region, North Pole, which was known at that time as a landmass, and the name was given as the Holarctic region. And from there, in successive waves, one after another, the angiosperms they got spread in all other 5 continents, and because of that, we can find all the 5 continents are rich in angiosperms. So this particular justification for the occurrence of many families together in all 5 continents was based on this theory. Now this obviously theory provides a very easy explanation for a widespread distribution of many genera which are widely spread in the different continents, especially the 2 opposite continents. On one side we are having the North America, whereas on other side we are having the Eastern Asia. Now remember, Eastern Asia is nothing but it's the Russia and China. You can see exactly at the opposite side we are having the North America, and on one side we are having the Eastern Asia. So this is a region. I have just drawn an image. You can see the Arctic Ocean is present at the center. Now considering the North Pole at the center, we have drawn an imaginary outline border which is known as a North Pole area. Now you can see many of the continents that are connected to each other through this Arctic Sea. For example, on the left side, you can see the Russia, it means it is the Asia. Again, on the top side, you can see the northern European countries like Denmark, Oslo, and Finland, which is known as the European continent. Obviously, if we come to the right side, you will find the Greenland. And Greenland is nothing but it is the area of North American continent, and obviously below that you can see the Canada and United States. So this is a North American continent. So you can see that Arctic region, in one way, if you see the Earth from the top, from the northern pole, you will realize that all the land masses, they are present together. So dear friends, let me tell you, actually today also several ships which are carrying the oil, several ships which are carrying the ore, the mineral ores, they travel through this Arctic Ocean. They do not come down to the Pacific Ocean or Indian Ocean. But what they do, they just travel the shortest distance. So from Russia, just you cross the North Pole, you can reach to the Russia. Or from Russia, if you cross the Arctic Ocean, you can reach the Canada. Similarly, from Russia, you can go to the Greenland, you can go to the Alaska, even you can go to the Netherlands like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and European countries. So it means from the northern pole, it was very easy to move to the different continents. Dear friends, let me tell you one thing. Almost 10 lakh years back to 4 lakh years back, the Arctic Ocean and these regions, they were very close to each other. And the human migration has taken place from these regions only, from this landmass only, because the United States shows the occurrence of elephants, it shows the presence of tigers, it shows the presence of early, what we know as Neanderthal man, Congo man, and this Congo man initially, he was present in Africa. So from Africa, he has migrated to the Europe, and from the Europe, from the Greenland level, he has entered into the United States. So obviously, the geographical distribution says that even though today the oceans are present, once upon a time, these land masses, they were connected to each other, and through this base, by walking, the human being, the early primitive man, he has moved, migrated from one continent to another continent, and because of that, this Arctic region is very important from discussion. Now, if we know this Arctic region, what was the situation almost 100 million years back? This is the image again. Now here you can see that many of the land masses, they are present even at the Arctic region. And because of this concept, he has proposed that there may be a probability that such a type of origin of angiosperms might have taken place in the Arctic region. However, there were some strong objections which were taken. The first objection is that at the Arctic region, now it has been discovered almost 80 years back that Arctic region is not having any landmass at all. It is nothing but it's a frozen sea, and that's why it's the Arctic Sea. Below the Antarctica, the landmass is present, and that's why it's called the Antarctic continent. However, unfortunately, Arctic region was never having the landmass, and it is nothing but the frozen sea. So the Arctic region, obviously because of that, it is very poor in fossil record of Cretaceous and Tertiary period. That is the areas which are connected to each other. The fossils somewhere which are derived from these areas, for example, from Canada, from Greenland, from Russia, from European regions, they are belonging to the advanced form of genera. That is, these records, they show the advanced angiosperms and not the primitive angiosperms. There was one suggestion which was made that at that time, almost in Cretaceous period, a warm tropical weather was present during Cretaceous period in the Arctic region. This was the suggestion which was made by Wagner, and he was a phytogeographer. However, it has been now proved, and this was proved by the Crozat in 1952. He was a Czechoslovakian scientist. He proved that Arctic region, it never had a warm climate just like equator. Equator म्हणजे विषुववृत्तीय प्रदेश. ज्याप्रमाणे आफ्रिकेमध्ये उन्हाळा असतो, गरम प्रदेश आहे, त्याचप्रमाणे आर्टिक वरती पण गरम प्रदेश होता असं जे सांगितलेलं होतं, that was rejected. And so obviously this particular claim has been rejected. Alexander has shown that the early angiosperms, they were found only between the 45 degrees north and 45 degrees south latitudes, and not beyond this. Now, what is the 45 degrees south and north? We have to go back to the present image. Now, this is the image. We can see the equator. या आफ्रिका आणि साऊथच्या बरोबर ह्या संपूर्ण नकाशामध्ये जी रेख दिसते, हा इक्वेटर आहे. आणि या इक्वेटरच्या वरच्या बाजूला कर्कवृत्त आहे, आणि त्याच्या 45 डिग्री खालच्या बाजूला मकर वृत्त आहे. म्हणजे हा जो मधला टापू दिसतो, खऱ्या अर्थाने ज्याच्यामध्ये फक्त आफ्रिकाच येतं, भारताचा भाग येतो, आणि खऱ्या अर्थाने मधला साऊथ आणि अमेरिका, नॉर्थ अमेरिका मधला काही भाग येतो, एवढ्याच भागामध्ये पूर्वी व्हेजिटेशन होतं. बाकीच्या भागामध्ये व्हेजिटेशन नव्हतं. आजही इन द नॉर्दर्न युरोप, आजही इन द नॉर्दर्न एशिया, that is in the Siberia area, in the Netherlands area, in North America, that is in Greenland, no vegetation is present. Means the vegetation is restricted in this region only. And because of that, because of all these phytogeographical claims, Kakajan, a Russian taxonomist, he has very firmly rejected this hypothesis that the angiosperms, they have originated from the Arctic region. So once this theory was rejected, what was the next theory? Now this theory was proposed by the Hallier in 1912, and this was called as a Pacifica origin. Now Hallier, because he actually took the claim from the Wagner, and Wagner was the one who has originally claimed that how this continental drift has taken place, and how these continents, they have got separated from one another, and how the tectonic plates are moving these continents from away from one another, and how the basic Pangea was split into 5 pieces, and these pieces were migrated at different levels. And for that purpose, they highly proposed that somewhere in the Cretaceous period, there was no any Pacific Ocean. On the contrary, the basin of the Pacific Ocean, that is the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, it was a landmass, it was above the water body, and that landmass was called as a hypothetical continent. Hypothetical today, but at that time he claimed that the basin of the Pacific Ocean, it is known as a Pacifica, is the birthplace of angiosperms. Now, as this whole landmass or the basin of the Pacific Ocean, it has gone down and it is covered with the water body. Today, unfortunately, we are not finding any fossil evidences, any paleobotanical evidences for the primitive angiosperms. So this was a theory which was proposed as a Pacifica origin, and he claimed that a hypothetical continent, that is the continent which is not known today, but it was present once upon a time, and that landmass known as the Pacifica was probably the birthplace of angiosperms. Now, the places which are present near the Pacific Ocean, like the places like Andes, Hawaiian Islands, New Caledonia, New Zealand, they can be traced for the ancestors because these areas, they are much more richer in primitive flora of angiosperms. So the present day flora of angiosperms, which are containing the maximum number of primitive families, they are spread in this zone, in this area. However, as I strongly said, that there is no any geographical record as such for such a type of continent, and the Pacific Ocean was formed almost 280 million years back. The Pacific Ocean was formed because a very giant asteroid hit the Canadian region at the time, and it took away the 1/3 of the area or landmass of the earth. साधारणपणे 285 दशलक्ष वर्षापूर्वी आता सध्या जिथे कॅनडा आहे त्या भागामध्ये एक प्रचंड मोठा ऍस्ट्रॉइड येऊन धडकला पृथ्वीला, आणि केवळ तो नुसता धडकलाच नाही, तो ऍस्ट्रॉइड बाहेर पडताना त्या पृथ्वीचा प्रचंड मोठा तुकडा बाजूला काढला आणि तो आकाशात फेकला. And that particular area which has been removed from the earth and which is now getting surrounded by that asteroid is moving around us, and that is called as a moon. तेव्हा खऱ्या अर्थानं चंद्राची निर्मिती अशा प्रकारे आपल्याकडे साधारणपणे 250 दशलक्ष वर्षांपूर्वी एका ऍस्ट्रॉइडमुळे झाली, आणि तो जो टवका उडला त्यामुळे त्या टवक्यामध्ये पाणी भरलं. दॅट्स व्हाय दिस रिजन इज कॉल्ड द पॅसिफिका. The Bailey in 1949, he claimed that the present floras of northern Australia, New Guinea, New Caledonia, या सगळे देशात होता, Fiji and nearby areas, they are rich in several certain primitive angiosperms. Now these primitive angiosperms, they belong to both monocots and dicots. Now the families like Magnoliaceae, Degeneraceae, Eupometiaceae, Winteraceae, Amarulaceae, Psychanthaceae, then Trochodendraceae, they are concentrated around the Pacific basin. That is the fact, and because of that, this Pacifica origin proposal was made by Harrier. The Takhtajan, he has claimed that the cradle of the angiosperms must be, cradle means the area from where the angiosperms might have diverted, that cradle of angiosperms or primitiveness must be searched in this area. Now see, this is the spot of a Pacifica region. It is a totally hypothetical continent which was drawn by the image. Now this is a sort of a basin of the Pacific Ocean which is indicating several names. Now remember, all these names, they are hypothetical. They are not present today. It has been assumed that if at all the basin is taken up, how it will look like. And from this Pacifica region has been identified. So if we just reverse this image, if we change this image to the present day, what we see this image. Now, at the center, you can see a very large white area. Now, this at the central white area is nothing but this is the Pacific Ocean. आता संपूर्ण या इमेजच्या मध्ये जो दिसतो हा संपूर्ण पॅसिफिक रिजन आहे. या रिजनच्या जर उजव्या बाजूला बघितलं तर तुम्हाला अमेरिका दिसते. यू कॅन सी द नॉर्थ अमेरिका अँड यू कॅन सी द साऊथ अमेरिका. आणि या संपूर्ण मधल्या भागाच्या इमेज आहे पॅसिफिक ओशनच्या जर तुम्ही डाव्या बाजूला बघितलं तर त्या ठिकाणी तुम्हाला मध्ये जे आयलंड दिसतात ते आयलंड म्हणजे जपान आहे. त्याच्या खालच्या बाजूला न्यूझीलंड आहे. जो मोठाच्या मोठा हिरवा मास आहे तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया आहे. त्याच्या वरती जे दिसतं तो संपूर्ण म्हणजे वरच्या बाजूला दिसतो एका बाजूला तुम्हाला दिसतोय या डाव्या कोपऱ्यामध्ये तुम्हाला भारत पण दिसतोय. त्याच्या वरच्या बाजूला संपूर्ण चायना दिसतोय. त्याच्या वरच्या बाजूला जे आयलंड दिसत आहेत हे आयलंड जे आहेत हे जपानचे आहेत. जपान आणि कोरियाचे आयलंड आहेत. आता हा आशिया आणि ऑस्ट्रेलिया याच्या मध्ये तुम्ही जर बघितलं तर खूप शेकडो छोटी छोटी बेटं दिसत आहेत. and all these areas are nothing but these are the New Guinea area. The New Guinea, Fiji Islands, Indonesia, Java, Sumatra, and many others like Thailand and Singapore and so on. So all these areas, they are connected to each other. So one can walk from the India to Australia through these small islands. And these islands, so all these areas you can see which have been shown by the green, these areas, they are richer or they are much more richer in primitive angiospermic families. And because of that, this Pacifica region is much more interesting one. However, unfortunately, such a type of Pacifica region was never in existence. So this is the area of basin of Pacifica region. Now, once we continue our discussion, if not the birthplace, at least this region should be the center of diversification, because the maximum primitive families are present in these areas, and then from these areas the angiosperms might have migrated to other areas. However, this does not mean that all the primitive angiosperms are concentrated only in the southeastern Asia. Southeastern Asia म्हणजे Assam, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Java, Sumatra, Fiji, New Caledonia, and many other areas. So they are not present in this zone, but they occur outside this region as well. So even they are present in the Asian region, they are present in the European countries, they are present in the North American continent, even some are present in the African continent. So the distribution of primitive angiosperms is present in other areas also. But even though this is the case, it is rightly said that maximum true primitive families and genera of primitive angiosperms, which are belonging to the dicots as well as monocots, they are present in this zone only. So obviously, there is one more interesting remark which has been identified, and that remark is, even though this region is rich in primitive families, remember many of these areas, they are separated from one another by the water bodies, because many of the small islands and small countries which I have told you, they are nothing but they are the islands. ही छोटी छोटी बेट आहेत, अशी शेकडो बेट आहेत, परंतु प्रत्येक बेट ही एकमेकाला जोडलेलं नाही आहे. तर प्रत्येक बेटाच्या मध्ये प्रचंड मोठ्या आकाराचा समुद्र आहे. त्यामुळं एक बेट दुसऱ्या जोडलं गेलं आणि त्याच्यापासून एकमेकापासून अँजिओस्पर्म्स एका बेटापासून दुसऱ्या बेटावरती गेले, हे तसं म्हणणं इतकं शक्य नाही आहे. इट्स नॉट दॅट फिजिबल. अँड सो दिस रिजन is also rich in advanced families. So on one side we are having the primitive families, but also this region is very much having a diversity of advanced families. I will give you one example. In Assam region, या आपल्याकडचा जो ईशान्य प्रदेश आहे, जे आपण सेवन सिस्टर्स म्हणतो, या भागामध्ये प्रचंड मोठी जंगल आहेत, ज्याला आपण ट्रॉपिकल एव्हरग्रीन फॉरेस्ट म्हणतो. In tropical evergreen forest, we are finding the family Magnoliaceae. Actually, the Magnolia genus is present in that area, but at the same time, the same Assam area is containing the highest number of orchids. या जगातली सगळ्यात ऍडव्हान्स फॅमिली कुठली आहे तर ऑर्किडेसी. आणि ऑर्किड्स मध्ये सगळ्यात जास्त जनरा कुठे सापडतात ते आसाम मध्ये सापडतात. सो ऑन वन साइड वी आर हॅव्हिंग द मॅग्नोलिया, अँड ऑन अदर साइड वी आर ऑल्सो हॅव्हिंग द अँजिओस्पर्म्स. And because of that, when we are having this discussion, we have to keep in mind that we should not concentrate only on the primitive families, but also we have to seek the advanced distribution of the angiosperms also. Again, there is no any paleobotanical direct supportive evidence which is coming from the fossil records from this region, because unfortunately this region is very poor in actually fossil records. Generally the fossils are present in the sedimentary rock, and the areas which I have shown, they are made up of basalt rock. Now basalt rock, remember, is formed because of the cooling of the lava. ज्यावेळेला ज्वालामुखी बाहेर येते, त्या ज्वालामुखीतून जो लावा बाहेर पडतो, त्या लाव्यापासून बलसाट दगड तयार होतो. आणि सेडिमेंटरी रॉक म्हणजे गाळाचे खडक हे वेगळ्या ठिकाणी तयार होतात. ज्या ठिकाणी पाणी असतं त्या पाण्यामध्ये जेव्हा गाळ साठतो त्याचे खडक जे बनतात त्याला सेडिमेंटरी रॉक म्हणतात. तर हा जो भाग आहे या संपूर्ण भागामध्ये खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती बलसाट रॉक आहे, बिकॉज दे वर हॅव्हिंग, बिकॉज दिस इज द एरिया विच इज प्रेझेंट ऑन द बाउंड्री ऑफ platonic plate of Pacifica, and that's why they are very much rich on the areas of earthquakes. These are the present on the volcanoes. तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे की हा जो प्रदेश आहे म्हणजे जपान असेल, कोरिया असेल, साऊथ एशिया असेल, इव्हन आपला भारत देखील, या भागामध्ये प्रचंड मोठ्या प्रमाणात इन्क्लुडिंग हिमालय, या भागामध्ये प्रचंड मोठ्या प्रमाणात ज्वालामुखी होत्या आणि या भागामध्ये त्यामुळे सातत्यानं भूकंप होत असतात. Now the best example today is that even the western Ghats, the सह्याद्री, ज्याला आपण सह्याद्री म्हणतो, दगडांच्या देशा म्हणतो, this particular सह्याद्री itself has been formed just 60,000 years back. आपल्या सह्याद्रीचं वर्ष, त्याचं आयुष्य हे फक्त 60,000 वर्ष आहे. सो दिस हॅज फॉर्म बिकॉज ऑफ अगेन अ वल्कॅनो. मग सह्याद्रीमध्ये आपला जो काळा कातळ दिसतो, इट इज नथिंग बट इट इज द सेडिमेंटेशन ऑफ द बलसाट रॉक. आणि त्यामुळे काळ्या कातळावरती तुम्ही बघितलं तो दगड अत्यंत टणक दगड आहे, कडक दगड आहे. पण तोच दगड जर तुम्ही कोकणामध्ये उतरलात तर त्या ठिकाणी मात्र तुम्हाला जो दगड मिळतो दॅट इज व्हेरी सॉफ्ट वन, ज्याला आपण चिरा म्हणतो, आणि त्याच्यामध्ये मात्र इट इज अ वीकली कूल्ड लावा, आणि त्यामुळे तो फुटू शकतो. त्यामुळे खालच्या बाजूला कोकणात बघितलं तर त्या ठिकाणी मात्र दगड सापडत नाही. सो ऑब्वियसली व्हॉट आय एम टेलिंग यू दॅट दिस रिजन is not only having fossil records because there is no any probability for formation of a sedimentary rock, because this area is much more richer in the basalt rock. We can see the image which I have shown. This is sort of a distribution of vegetation, and you see what I am trying to tell you is the maximum around the equator and the Cape of Capricorn. म्हणजे तुम्ही जर बघितलं तर विषुववृत्त आणि विषुववृत्ताच्या वरच्या बाजूला जर तुम्ही बघितलं तर कर्कवृत्त आहे. त्या कर्कवृत्तावरती सगळ्यात जास्त जगातली सगळ्यात मोठी वाळवंट आहेत. यू कॅन सी द एरियाज अँड नाऊ यू कॅन सी. या ठिकाणी बघा सगळ्यात डार्क हिरव्या रंगाचे जे भाग दिसतोय खालच्या बाजूला इक्वेटरला. नाऊ ऑल दीज आयलंड्स, देर आर हंड्रेड्स ऑफ आयलंड्स. दीज आयलंड्स आर नथिंग बट दीज आर द न्यू कॅलोडिना विच आर रिच इन प्रिमिटिव्ह अँजिओस्पर्म्स. आय एम कमिंग बॅक टू दिस इमेज अगेन. So, for this purpose, the Valentine in 1967, he proposed a species pump hypothesis. So, what is species pump hypothesis? He suggested that if at all a new species has to be formed, this species has to be formed in between the favorable and unfavorable marginal zone. So, the more active and rapid speciation, formation of new species, it takes place in the marginal areas of the deserts, because desert is the area on one side it is having the continuous unfavorable condition, and on other border it is having a continuous favorable area. And so in these areas the newer species are pumped into the stable communities of the tropical forest. I will give you a very simple example so you can understand. म्हणजे प्रत्येकाच्या लक्षात येऊ शकेल. एक छोटं उदाहरण सांगतो आणि ते नेमकं मुद्दाम मराठीत सांगतो. आपल्या सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे की भारतामध्ये आपल्या वायव्येला भारताच्या म्हणजे भारताच्या गुजरातच्या वरती आणि राजस्थानच्या वरती आपल्याकडे थरचं वाळवंट आहे. हे राजस्थानमध्ये वाळवंट आहे आणि या राजस्थानचं वाळवंट कुठेपर्यंत पसरलंय तर राजस्थानचं वाळवंट हे साधारणपणे अंबालापर्यंत पसरलं आहे. अंबाला म्हणजे चंदीगड, वरच्या बाजूला दिल्लीच्या वरती चंदीगड पर्यंत पसरलेलं आहे. चंदीगड पर्यंत तुम्ही गेला तर आपलं वाळवंट सापडतं की ज्या ठिकाणी सगळ्यात कमी पाऊस पडतो आता देखील त्या ठिकाणी वाळूचे डोंगर आहेत. आणि तेच चंदीगडच्या पलीकडं 150 किलोमीटरवरती तुम्हाला काय दिसतं, चंदीगडहून 150 किलोमीटरवरती तुम्हाला सिमला दिसतं, त्याच्यावर कुलू दिसतं, तिथं मनाली दिसतं, त्याच्या पलीकडच्या बाजूला संपूर्णपणे तुम्हाला हिमालयन रेंज दिसते. आणि सिमल्याला तुम्हाला माहिती आहे की सिमल्याला दर नोव्हेंबर महिन्यामध्ये बर्फ पडतो. म्हणजे सिमल्यामध्ये जे जंगल आहे ते एव्हरग्रीन जंगल आहे. आणि तिथून 200 किलोमीटरवरती जर तुम्ही चंदीगडला आलात तर चंदीगडला काय आहे, पूर्णपणे वाळवंट आहे. So this is the marginal area where there is a rapid change between the favorable condition and unfavorable condition. And under the stress condition, what Valentine suggested, that under these unfavorable conditions, the modification, alteration rate, the change rate is much more higher. Or genetically, these species, they are much more elastic and plastic, and that's why they undergo modifications, they undergo changes so as to sustain in the given unfavorable conditions, and that's why new species are formed in this marginal area. And what happens once the species is formed in the marginal area, this species is pushed, आणि मग ही तयार झालेली स्पेसिस काय होती, नवीन झालेली, ही या जंगलामध्ये जाऊन पडते. आणि त्यामुळे या जंगलामध्ये जुने पण मेंबर सापडतात आणि नवीन तयार झालेली स्पेसिस पण सापडते. And that's why most of the times the new species, they are generally found on the margins of the forest, margins of the deserts. And so it has now rightly been said that the angiosperms, in all probabilities, they have developed in the semi-arid situations. And this semi-arid situation is always marked with a seasonal drought and a short season of favorable condition for the formation of flowers and seeds to go for the next generation. म्हणजे फेवरेबल कंडिशन पण असली पाहिजे, त्याचं फ्लॉवरिंग झालं पाहिजे, त्याला बिया तयार झाल्या पाहिजेत आणि त्या बिया रुजल्या पण पाहिजेत आणि त्या बिया रुजून नवीन प्लॅन्ट पण तयार झालं पाहिजे की जेणेकरून ते प्लॅन्ट पुन्हा नवीन जागेसाठी किंवा त्या अनफेवरेबल कंडिशनसाठी त्याला तोंड देऊ शकेल. Because of that, angiosperms, in all probabilities, they might have developed in the semi-arid situations. Now, if at all we are trying to test this, so this information is coming from the developmental botany. This information is coming from the ecology. And what it says, that new species, they are generally found because of the genetic plasticity in the marginal areas. If it is so, now you can see this image. What this image shows, now this is the image of the world which is identifying the largest 10 deserts in the world. जगातली सगळ्यात मोठी वाळवंट जी आहेत ही वाळवंट या ठिकाणी दाखवलेली आहेत. आता तुम्ही जर बघितलं तर तुमच्या लक्षात येऊ शकेल की त्याचं ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कॅन्सर म्हणजे कर्कवृत्त जो आहे त्या कर्कवृत्ताच्या भोवतीचं सगळ्यात जास्त जंगल आहे. म्हणजे कुठलं आहे, आफ्रिकेच्या वरती सहाराचं जंगल आहे. त्याच्यानंतर तुम्ही तिकडनं बाजूला सरकलात तर मग तुमच्याकडे त्या हा मधला जो प्रदेश आहे हा अबुधाबीचा प्रदेश आहे. अबुधाबी आणि दुबई, त्या दुबईच्या प्रदेशामध्ये तुम्ही बघताय तिथं वाळवंट आहे संपूर्ण. तिथून तुम्ही पुन्हा जर पूर्वेकडे सरकलात तर त्या ठिकाणी अफगाणिस्तान आहे. अफगाणिस्तान, इराण, त्या भागामध्ये जंगल डेझर्ट्स आहेत, वाळवंट आहे. आणि या वाळवंटाचं एक टोक हे पूर्ण भारतात येऊन पोहोचलंय, म्हणजे राजस्थानपर्यंत आलेलं आहे. अर्थात हे भारतात 8 नंबरचं लिहिलेलं आहे ते राजस्थानचं वाळवंट आहे. हे जर वरती आपण गेलो 7 नंबरला तर हा कुठला आहे, हे गोबीचं वाळवंट आहे, चीन मधलं वाळवंट आहे. हे जो गोबीचं वाळवंट आहे सगळ्यात मोठं वाळवंट आहे. आणि त्याच्याबरोबर साईडला बघितलं तर 9 नंबरचं वाळवंट आहे. आणि 9 नंबरचं वाळवंट आणि हे 7 नंबरचं वाळवंट, हे दोन्ही जे आहे ते तुर्कमेनिस्तान आणि गोबी हे दोन्ही एकमेकाला जोडलेली वाळवंट आहेत. म्हणजेच ही वाळवंट देखील एकमेकाला जोडली गेलेली आहेत. आणि याच वाळवंटांच्या बेसिनमध्ये किनाऱ्याला तुम्ही बघत असाल तर प्रत्येक ठिकाणी त्यांच्या शेजारी समुद्र आहे. वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे समुद्र यांच्या शेजारी आहेत. भारतामध्ये पण तुम्ही बघितलं असेल तर 8 नंबरचं जे वाळवंट आहे ज्याला आपण याचं राजस्थानचं वाळवंट म्हणतो, या राजस्थानच्या वाळवंटापासून 200 किलोमीटर वरती आपल्याला हिमालय रेंज सापडते ज्या ठिकाणी बर्फ पडतो. सो दिस इज द एरिया, द मार्जिनल एरिया वेअर न्यू स्पीसीज आर फॉर्म्ड एव्हरी टाइम अँड दिस स्पीसीज दे आर पम्प्ड. सो द ओरिजिन ऑफ अँजिओस्पर्म्स, व्हॉट दिस paleobotanists say, that origin of angiosperms, it was not, or it has, this process has not taken once in the lifetime. On the contrary, it's a continuous process and every time the new species are being formed. According to Stebbins, a very recent proposal, he proposed a museum concept because he studied the tropical evergreen forest of Assam, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and many other areas. And he suggested that these tropical forests, they are rich and they are preserving the primitive angiosperms, primitive genera, as well as the modern genera also, and advanced genera also. So the tropical rainforests of these regions, they serve as a museums. So what they do? The museums are nothing but these are the areas which are preserving the species as they are. आपल्याकडे प्राणी संग्रहालय असतं आणि त्या प्राणी संग्रहालयामध्ये त्या प्रत्यक्ष प्राण्याच्या आवश्यक असणाऱ्या गरजेप्रमाणे त्याच्यासाठी वेगळं वातावरण तयार केलं जातं आणि त्या ठिकाणी त्या प्राण्याला ठेवलं जातं. पण तो प्राणी तिथं जन्मतो का? तो नाही जन्मतो, तो वेगळ्या ठिकाणी जन्मतो, पण त्याची ती राहण्याची व्यवस्था तिथे केली असते. In the same way, tropical rainforest provides a favorable habitat to all these plants, and because of that, in these plants, in these areas, the maximum number of diversity of angiosperms is seen. So obviously, the maximum environmental challenge occurs on the margins of the equatorial zone, like the borders of the deserts, where the new species they originate because of the stress. So the environmental stress is the primary area which is actually leading to the formation of new species. So when we are thinking about the probable place of the origin of angiosperms, in the past also we have to identify where such a type of unfavorable condition was created during the Cretaceous period. Because of that, from the present flora of that time, the angiosperms originated. And because of that, what he has said, that these new species, they are thrown in the favorable climate to establish, and not only to establish, but they are preserved in these areas. So as far as, because of that, what this theory says, as far as the probable place is concerned, still there is no any certainty. There is no any fossil records which are claiming that this is the area where the angiosperm might have evolved. On the contrary, there are some areas where the primitive members of the primitive angiosperms they prevail, but these are also present, or these are also showing the maximum number of advanced angiosperms. And because of that, from embryological and from cytological point of view, we have to identify and we have to now concern that origin of angiosperms is not a single event. This whole process has not taken once, but it is a continuous process of evolution. And this is happening because of the changes which are taking place in the environment, which are creating the stressed condition, unfavorable condition. And because of that, the speciation is taking place, formation of new species is taking place. And because of that, the new species are being formed every time. And that's why, even though the Arctic region, the Pacifica region, and the nearby areas, they were the probable hotspots or probable places of origin of angiosperms, unfortunately, there is no any present day or the fossil record which is highlighting a probable place for this origin. And because of that, still this is an enigma, this is a question mark about the probable place of origin of angiosperms. So with this, today, now we will have a break, a short break, and tomorrow we will continue our discussions on another topic. I feel that's the probable place, this particular discussion involved even some of the geographical components, and so that whenever the notes will be provided to you, go through the details, read more, and try to understand. So I hope that you have understood what I wanted to present to you. And with this, we'll take a break now. सगळ्यांना समजलं असेल तर मी आता चॅट बॉक्स ओपन करतोय, तुमचे रिमार्क्स दाखवा.